all for your patience as we're working our way through the calendar today. I am now calling to order 23 PO 7079. This is Jacob Fields versus Indira Cobbs. Both parties are present. Ms. Cobbs, if you could turn your video on. Thank you very much. Mr. Fields is represented today by Debbie Pelleros. And let's see, you all have had a chance to speak and we're unable to reach an agreement. So at this time, we're going to go forward with the hearing. I'd like to start, if I could, by asking both parties to unmute and raise your right hand. I'm going to get you sworn in. Do you swear or affirm any testimony you're about to provide is true and correct under penalty of perjury, Mr. Fields?
Yes.
And Ms. Cobbs?
Yes.
All right, thank you very much. A little bit of instruction as we proceed today. The petitioner in this case, Jacob Fields, brought this matter to the court's attention by filing the petition and receiving the ex parte protective order. They will carry the burden of going first. And once they have presented their case, at that point, Ms. Cobbs, then it will be turned over to you and you'll be given an opportunity to testify and present any evidence that you wish to do so. Please keep in mind that you will be given an opportunity to question any witnesses that are presented by Mr. Fields today. It will have to be in the form of a question, and we can go over that a little bit further as we proceed, but that will be the order of the court today. And if you have any witnesses in the room with you, either party, make sure that they go to a different room out of earshot of this hearing. And while one party is testifying, I ask that the other party remain muted. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Pelleros, and you can call your first witness.
Thank you, Your Honor. I will call Ms. Indira Cobbs to the stand at this time.
All right, Ms. Cobbs, you were previously sworn.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
May I begin, Your Honor?
Yes.
Thank you. Your name is Indira Cobbs, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And you have been living with Jacob Fields, is that correct?
What time frame?
Prior to the being served with the temporary protective order.
Yes.
And you live with him with your daughter, Sky Fields, is that right?
What time frame?
Prior to the protective order being entered.
Yes.
And Judge, I know the clerk is going to be bringing up the evidence. Do I just let them know which piece of evidence that I need?
Yes.
Thank you. I'm going to show you, the clerk's going to pull up Plaintiff's Exhibit 25.
Ms. Brown?
Plaintiff's Exhibit 25, ma'am, is the certificate of birth for yours and Mr. Fields' daughter, Sky Fields. Is that true?
Yes.
All right. And clearly it says on there, both of you are the parents of Sky. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. I tender 25 for the plaintiff at this time.
All right, please take it down. Any objection to the birth certificate, Ms. Cobbs?
No.
Okay.
On June 20th of 2023, you were found in an automobile. Is that correct? Unconscious by the police?
Was I?
I'm
The
asking.
question was asked to you, ma'am. You need to answer yes or no.
Okay. Yes.
Right. I'm going to ask the clerk to pull up. Apologize, Your Honor. Plaintiff's Exhibit 13. Ms. Cobbs, Plaintiff 13 is a note that you wrote on June 20th of 2023. Is that true?
Yes.
And I would tender Plaintiff's 13 as an exhibit for the plaintiff.
All right, any objection, Ms. Cobbs?
No.
Okay.
I'd ask the clerk to pull up Plaintiff's Exhibit 14.
You wanted to put up number 13 again?
14. I'm
14.
sorry. Yes, ma'am. Plaintiff's 14, I don't think this one's, for some reason, it's not marked. Plaintiff's 14 is is also a letter you wrote on June 20th of 2023 to your mother and dad. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. If I could ask the clerk to pull up Plaintiff's 15. And this is a third letter you wrote on June 20th, 2023. Is that true?
Yes.
And you wrote this to your daughter, Sky. Is that right?
Yes, I did.
All right, I would tender plaintiffs 13, 14, and 15 for the plaintiff.
All right, any objection, Ms. Cobb?
Relevance?
What is the relevance, ma'am?
The relevance is that these are letters that Ms. Cobb wrote on June 20th of 2023, the day she tried to commit suicide, and which is part of the plaintiff's petition, and goes to her state of mind and custody of the minor child.
All right, I'll allow them for the limited purpose.
Thank you, Judge.
All right,
My last name is actually pronounced Cobbs with an S.
I apologize.
Thank you.
With respect particularly to, let's look at Exhibit 14, which is the letter you wrote to your daughter, Sky.
This is to the mother and father.
I apologize. We'll just stay with this one. I think this was, if that's already up, I can do that first. It's fine. With respect to this particular letter that you wrote to your mother and father, which I believe is plaintiff's 14, you told them in this letter that in the middle of that particular letter that you gave so much to the, I'm sorry, I apologize. I've got to refocus here. You said at the very bottom of that letter, so it seems I need to go to sleep. Thank you for and something to life and experiences. Is that what did you say there, ma'am?
I would need you to zoom in, please, so that I can read the content.
Thank you for an incredible life and experiences that I would have never known without you and Mom. I love you. Is that what that says?
That's what it seems to say, yes.
Okay, and you were talking about going to sleep because you were going to take some kind of drugs or alcohol to end your life. Is that right?
I learned some alarming news about my child's father that caused my state of mind to be in a state of worry. And I wrote that letter granting my biological parents, legal custody of Sky if anything were to ever happen, because there were rape and molestation charges brought against Jacob Fields from his biological sisters.
And you have proof of that, ma'am? Here
I
today?
I do.
Okay. All
Yes,
right. Did you file that in?
I did.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. With respect to, I would ask the clerk to pull up the certified copy of the police report, plaintiff 16.
Please go to page 3.
Your Honor, this is a certified copy of the DeKalb County Police Department report for June 20th of 2023.
All right.
And I would tender it as plaintiff's
Any objection,
exhibit.
Ms. Cobbs, to the police report from June 20th of 2023?
Relevance?
I'm really close to agreeing with you. I'm going to allow one more inquiry as to this. I mean, I think this has kind of been explored enough, Ms. Pelleros. Just, I can see it. I can see the letters. So let's move on.
All right. Thank you, Judge. May I just simply tender 16 then?
Yes, you may.
Thank you. If the clerk could pull up plaintiff's 28. I apologize. That's the wrong exhibit. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. That's the wrong exhibit, Judge. Plaintiff's 33. I believe this is an audio. Do you recall hitting Mr. Fields in the face and giving him a black eye?
What time frame? I do not recall.
Okay. In July of 2021, did that happen?
I believe I was
2021.
It's a prior act in July of 2021. Yes, ma'am.
July of 2021. Okay.
okay. I believe I was driving and I had found Jacob. One of his associates came to me and told me that they had been in a strip club previous night before trying to sell cocaine.
I'm gonna object to the response. It's not responsive at all. I simply asked her, did she give him a black eye?
Ms. Cobbs, answer the question. You'll have a chance to testify in a moment, ma'am.
Okay, can I object with relevance?
Well, I'm going to overrule that objection because we're here today for a protective order on family violence.
Okay,
Did you hit Mr. Jacobs in the face and cause him to have a black eye?
I don't recall. It was 2021 and I was driving a vehicle.
So you recall driving the vehicle, but you don't recall giving him the black eye?
No, I
All
don't recall.
Okay. That's all the questions I have of Ms. Cobbs at this time, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. Next witness.
I'll call Jacob Fields.
All right, Mr. Fields, you've already been sworn.
Mr. Fields, can you state your name for the court?
Yeah, it's Jacob Fields.
And you are the father of Sky Fields, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And the mother of Sky is the defendant in this action, is that true?
Yes.
And with respect to Miss Cobbs, is it, you lived together with her prior to the entry of the protective order, is that right?
Yes.
And you were in DeKalb County at that time, is that correct?
Yes.
And Sky, your daughter, was living there with you?
Yes.
And she was born in 2020, is that true?
Yes.
All right. With respect to this protective order, what was the incident that occurred that caused you to take out a protective order against Miss Fields?
Miss Cobbs.
Sorry, Miss Cobbs. I
Yes.
apologize.
No worries. Well, I was cooking dinner and also feeding our daughter and working on getting her to bed. And I'll just start from the beginning, just to give some context. And Dira was blasting music, playing music very loud, dancing, and it was late at night, and I was working on getting Sky to bed and feeding her. And I asked her many times, because it was late, it was like between 10 and 10:30. I asked her many times. Nicely to turn the music down, and there's also one point in time where I was like negotiating fruit snacks with my daughter to like eat green beans and stuff like that and eat her mashed potatoes. And Dira looked at me and was like, Sky, don't give a fuck about that. And so I told her, I was like, will you ever grow up? And when I told her, I was like, will you ever grow up? That triggered her into becoming very, she started yelling at me, and I can tell like that she was starting to get violent and combative. And I've been with her in the past. Like I've seen this type of behavior get worse. So I pulled my phone out immediately, and I'm cooking food this entire time. So I pulled my phone out to start recording her. And the split second that I pulled my phone out to start recording the way she was acting, she charged at me and started hitting me, pulling my hair down, hitting me, and was trying to take my phone from me. And I was like, I gotta leave. Like, I gotta get out of here. I gotta get a welfare check done. Like, this is out of control. And so I start going towards the door, and she blocks the door, and she, is keeping me from leaving. She's pulling my hair down, hitting me, pulling my hair down. I'm defending myself. It got to the point to where I ended up, putting myself in a position where I had to take her to the ground and pin her down until she agreed to stop, stop acting this way. And, immediately as she agreed to stop, I let her go, and I just called her dad. But the split second that I called her father, because usually her father's the one that can like settle her down. But the split second I called her father, she got back up and started attacking me again. And she ran to the stove to get the pan that I was cooking broccoli in. And thankfully, to an extent, she did, thankfully, I guess she did that because it allowed me to get out of the front door. And so she went to go grab the pan that I was cooking broccoli in, a hot pan. And as I was running out, she threw it at me. Thankfully she didn't hit me. And then immediately I called and asked for a welfare check from DeKalb County. And I was on hold with the dispatcher forever, for like 20, 30 minutes. And the dispatcher just asked me, like, hey, keep me updated. As like if anything progresses, right, keep me updated. And I was like, well, what if she tries to leave?
Let me interrupt you, sir. Hang on one second. Let me interrupt you. With respect, so once you said you were on the phone with the dispatcher for 20 or 30 minutes. What, if anything, happened after you got on the phone with the dispatcher?
Yeah, she said, if I was like, if anything, like if she tries to leave, like, what should I do? She's like, well, as long as you feel like it's safe, go ahead and follow her. So that ended up happening. No police officer ended up coming in time. So she left with my daughter in the back seat, and I went to go follow her, and the dispatcher was like, just update us on your location. Well, as I was following her, she started running every red light that, was on the, every red light. And so I realized I had to slam on the brakes, because I knew I was going to, I can't do that, but I was going to end up hurting myself. And, I was getting really nervous for my daughter's life. And I just, I got nervous, and I told the dispatcher, I said she was running every red light, with my daughter in the back seat. And like, I could literally like see my daughter's life flash before my eyes when that happened. So, I turned around and went back to the apartment. And then from that point on, I was like, I got to get my daughter out of here. Like, this is out of control. Like, this is, you don't act this way with a 2-year-old involved. Like, you don't act this way in front of a child or around a child. Like, you can't put a child's life at risk like that.
Was there an incident that occurred on the 3rd of, and let me back up just a moment. Did you record that incident where she was coming at you?
Yeah, I did. Yeah. It should be submitted, right? Yeah.
I'd ask the clerk to pull up plaintiff's 20.
All right, plaintiff's 20, please.
One moment, Judge. Did you get a response back for number 20?
I'm sorry?
Did you get a response back saying it was too large?
It was, but I had it hand delivered on a flash drive to Tara Jackson yesterday morning at 8:30.
Okay, so Judge, I don't have that in Odyssey. I can contact Ms. Jackson and see if she can put it in for us.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Was there another incident after that on August 3rd, Mr. Fields?
Yeah, her and her father showed up to my buddy Quinn's house, where I was protecting my daughter and trying to keep her away, because I knew they were trying to get her. They showed up with the police and tried to get my daughter at that point in time as well.
Okay. Did you already have a protective order in place?
Not at that exact moment, no.
Okay, you had filed for one by that point?
No, I was in the process of working towards that. I was learning about it at that exact moment.
And were you present when Ms. Cobbs told the police officer she believed you had been violent against her?
Was I with her when she
Were
told
you with the police officer and Ms. Cobbs?
No, I wasn't with them like together. Like, no, I was not with them together. No.
Okay, so was there a police report done on that day?
For the 3rd? Yes, it was.
All right, I believe that is plaintiff's 22.
All right, plaintiff's 22.
And was this a certified copy of the police report that you picked up from the East Point Police Department, Mr. Fields?
Yes.
And I would tender plaintiff's 22 in evidence at this point.
All right, any objection, Ms. Cobbs? You're on mute.
Against the police report or against that entire statement?
The police report only.
Was this filed by Jacob Fields? I can't quite see the print.
Go to the next page, please, Ms. Spring. All right, and then if you'll go to the 3rd page. Do you recognize this?
I actually had no knowledge of this particular police report. I was there that night. My father and I did go to the residence of Quinn and his girlfriend's BB, as well as their daughter's house, because I knew that that is where my daughter would be, after Mr. Fields said that he would not be allowing my father, who originally planned to come here, to have my daughter visit.
I think she's testifying at this point. I'm going to object. I don't hear any
I'm going
valid.
to sustain the objection. Do you have an objection, ma'am, to the police report itself, the certified copy of a police report?
Well, I have no knowledge of this particular police report, and I would like to know the relevance of this.
All right, was indicating that you're the reporting party, and
That
it was
I
on
reported-
3rd, 2023.
That I reported this.
Yes.
Well, I was there, and I did speak to police.
All right,
I-
it'll be admitted without objection.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Fields, have you read this particular police report?
Yes.
And at the time that you read it, did you talk to the police officer that was there that had been called?
You can take it down. Ms. Spring.
Yeah. Yes, I did.
And did he ask, did Miss Cobbs indicate that you had done some damage or hurt her in some way? Do you recall the police asking you about that?
Yes, I do.
And what did you do in response to that?
But I told him I'm not sure. That's what I told him. I said I'm not sure.
Well, I'm asking you, did you show him a video?
Oh yeah, I showed him the video. Yeah. I showed him the video of her, charging at me and running at me. Yeah.
Oh, Your Honor.
Just 1 second, ma'am. Just 1 second.
Okay.
You have to wait till it's your turn, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. And with respect to the video that you showed Officer, I believe it's Stratham on that day, when he spoke to you and you showed him that video, he recorded what he saw on the video.
Yeah, it's in the police report.
Yes, and is that an accurate description of what happened in that video?
Yes.
And he stated that there was a physical altercation between you and Ms. Fields,
Ms. Cobbs, yes.
and that he could see and hear Fields attempting to get away from Cobbs, but Cobbs continued to hit and follow Fields. That
Yes.
happened in that video. And she was continuously hitting at you. Is that right? That what happened in that?
Yes.
well? Right. I'm going to ask the clerk to pull up plaintiff's 34.
Number 34, Ms. Brown.
There were prior incidents that you provided pictures for in plaintiff's 34. Do you see those pictures, sir?
Yeah, I see the display. Yes. I mean, I don't see them right in front of me, but yes, I see what's going on here.
All right. And did you take those pictures?
Yes, I did.
And do they accurately depict what is shown and how it actually appeared?
Yes.
And were these pictures taken close in time to the time that these things were happening?
Yes.
Right. And who caused the bruises and the black eye and the slashed tire and the broken window that's shown?
Hey, we haven't heard testimony to those things, so let's bring it up and go through them. Move to page 2, Ms. Brown.
I'm gonna go ahead and tender 33 at this time, Judge. I think I've laid this foundation for it.
Yes. All right. Ms. Cobbs, do you have any objection to the photographs?
Yes.
What's your objection?
I'm sorry. My audio cut out. Can you say that one more
What's your
time?
objection?
Objection is to evidence, false evidence.
Okay. I can determine the weight of the evidence once it's been admitted, and I will admit it over your objection.
Thank you, Your Honor. The first picture that's on page 2, Mr. Fields, what does that show, please?
Slash my car tire.
And who did that?
Indira.
Ms. Cobbs, Indira Cobbs. And how do you know she did that?
The fact that my car was sitting in the garage for months, nobody could access it besides either me or her.
Did you ever have a conversation with her about it?
I did, yes.
Did she admit that she had done that at some point?
No, she did not. She denied it.
All right. On the black eye, was that the same time frame that we talked about for the previous exhibit
Yeah, that was about a day or two after.
after the slashed tire?
No, after I got the black eye, after the video.
Okay.
About a day or
Sorry,
two
thank
after
you.
the video.
All right. And page 5 of the exhibit, what does that show?
That was a bruise on my hip from getting a wine bottle thrown at me.
And who threw the wine bottle at you?
Indira.
And the next one on page 6, what does that picture show?
I'm assuming that was like clawing, like fingernail gashing.
Okay. And who did that?
Indira.
And page 7 of this exhibit, what does that show, please?
Bruise on my chest. And actually somebody else took that photo. A friend of mine I was staying with took that photo.
All right. Does that accurately depict the way your chest looked on the day that photo was taken? All right. And how did the bruise get there?
Got hit. I got hit by Indira.
And was this same time frame that the wine bottle was used to hit you?
Yes.
Okay. And then below that on page 10, there's some text messages, I believe. Who are these text messages from?
Indira.
Okay. I'm sorry, I think I skipped ahead. Number 8. Can you tell me about page 8?
Yeah, I was trying to leave my house because it was very violent, and Yeah, there was just a violent outburst, and she came out with she grabbed a shovel in the garage and started beating my car with a shovel as I was trying to leave.
All right. And so you were in the car when she was doing that. Is that right?
Yes.
And what time frame was that? Same time frame?
Yeah, I think that was August 6th of 2021.
All right. And then if we jump down to the text messages beginning on page, I believe 10.
Mhm.
Are these screenshots?
Yes, these are
Sure.
screenshots.
All right. And this is a conversation between you and whom?
And Indira.
Okay. And do these screenshots accurately depict what was said in the text?
Yes.
You've not made any changes in them of any kind, correct?
No.
All right. So on the first page of these texts, she indicated on the very bottom that you, Jacob, can have Sky. I tried my best. When you get back, she'll be with my parents.
That's not what we're looking at.
But it's just, you got to scroll down a little bit, zoomed in. It's on the same text though.
That last text.
Yes.
Okay. And then on the next page of that text, she starts saying in the very top of that page that you're right to leave, though. I'm not fit for life. I don't know what I'm doing, and everything I choose is wrong. Do you see that, sir?
Yes.
And then further down in that same part, it says, I can't shake wanting to die. Sky was the best thing I've ever done. Maybe I'm more like your mom than I thought. You see
Yes.
that? And she says at the very last, but I can't do this anymore. I can't live anymore and keep dying. And then you tried to talk her out of that. Is that correct?
Yes.
After the 20th, June 20th of 2023, when the police found Miss Cobbs in the car, where did she go?
She went to Ridgeview Institute.
And how long was she there?
8 days.
Right. As far as your safety, sir, do you feel like you are you afraid of Miss Cobbs at this point in time?
Yes, I am.
Are you asking the court to issue a restraining order to keep her away from you?
Yes, please.
All right. And with regard to Sky, are you asking for custody of Sky at this point?
Yes, I am.
And are you capable of caring for Sky at this time?
Yes, most definitely.
And have you and Miss Cobbs been caring for Sky together?
Yeah, we have in the past.
All right. And her parents cared for Sky for some time in Texas. Is that true?
Correct. Yes.
All right. And with respect to Sky, do you have an issue with Miss Cobbs having parenting time with Sky if her parents are around?
Yes, as long as the supervised visits, I'm okay with it.
All right. And you're okay with her parents doing that?
Yes, yes.
You feel like her parents are good folks and they could make sure she's okay?
Yes, I do think so.
And do you have concerns about Miss Cobbs and her being unsupervised with Sky at this point?
I do. I said I do.
And the basis of those things that you're concerned about would be some of the things we've already talked about today, which would be the suicide attempt on the 20th of June of 2023, and then her erratic driving on I think the 31st, I believe, of July of 2023.
You're leading the witness, Ms. Melrose. Let him answer.
I apologize, Judge.
Page 2, please.
Page 2, yes. Did you screenshot the phone call that came in, Mr. Fields?
Yes.
And was this an accurate picture of what you screenshotted after that telephone call?
Yes.
I tender plaintiff's 20, I believe this is 27 at this
Any
time.
objection to the photo, Ms. Cobbs?
Yes, I do object. I did not make a intentional phone call to Mr. Fields. As you can see, he still has my contact saved. So there's a period of time where we were heavily communicating where his call log is pretty much like the only number in my phone. It may have been an accidental dial, but it definitely was not intentional.
Okay, thank you. It'll be admitted over the objection.
Thank you. Oh, I'm wondering if do we have the movie that I had hand delivered, P20?
Yes, we do not have it yet. She's in a meeting, so I don't know what time or if it'll be done.
Thank you.
Is it what's been testified to by Mr. Fields today?
Yes, ma'am, and it's also in the police report. I believe the one that's
That he references viewing the video?
dated, I believe it's
August
August 3rd, which would be,
It's number 22.
yes, 22.
Okay.
It's what had, I believe he indicated that's what had happened in the video and the policeman watched it. So I think we'll be good without having to track it down, Judge.
Okay, thank you. Any more questions?
That's all I have at this time, Your Honor.
All right, Ms. Cobbs, do you have any questions for Mr. Fields? This is not a time to testify, but if you have just specific questions that you wish to ask him based on the testimony that he's given today.
Yes, I do actually. Am I allowed to ask?
Yes.
Okay, fabulous. Now, Mr. Fields, how are you today? Okay, good. We'll move forward. So you testified, you wrote a statement as part of your request for a DVR describing me attacking you on the night of July 31st, 2023. Is that correct?
DVR, what's a DVR?
It's a domestic violence.
Oh,
restraining.
yeah. Yes.
Okay. On the night of the 31st, following with your statement that is in writing on the said court serving document, your words were, as soon as I started recording Indira's behavior, she started pulling my hair, swinging at me, trying to grab my phone and prevent me from leaving the apartment, all in front of our daughter. I ran outside, dialed 911 to request a welfare check while I was waiting for the police to show up. She carried my daughter out to her car. I asked the dispatcher what I should do. She told me as long as it's safe, go ahead and follow her and give updates on her location. Indira quickly started speeding up Druid Hills Road. Indira started running nearly every red light with my daughter in the back seat of her car. Do you remember making this statement to the police?
Yes.
And these are your words?
Yes.
Okay. Now you testified a few minutes ago on the night of the incident, the actions that were taking place. You stated that you were cooking dinner while you were trying to have Sky eat her mashed potatoes and broccoli. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So you were cooking dinner and you were feeding Sky at the same time?
Yeah, I was back and forth to it. Yeah.
Okay. And while you were cooking dinner and feeding our daughter at the same time, you testified that I was playing loud music and dancing. Is that correct?
Yes.
Wonderful. Do you recall that in that time that I was dancing, that our daughter was actually engaging and dancing with me as well?
Yes.
Okay. So you just said that you were feeding her at the same time as you were cooking at the same time as she was dancing with me.
Not entirely, but all within the same time frame. Yes.
So I'm just curious as to how that would literally be quantum physically possible for her to be eating at the same time as dancing, at the same time as you were cooking and trying to feed her at the same time.
Am I allowed to object to this?
No.
No. Okay.
Okay.
I mean, can I answer?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, they were dancing at first, and then I picked. I was cooking food. They were dancing, and then it ended up getting to a point where she was dancing so much, Sky started telling her to stop because it was just getting loud and obnoxious over a period of time. Like it was a very long period of time. I mean, it was like an hour and a half at least, maybe 2 hours of her blasting music and dancing. And then like eventually I picked my daughter up and put her in her chair to feed her. So, and I had a separate meal. Like I had like nuggets and mashed potatoes. And honestly, I don't think it was broccoli. I think it was green beans that I had for her at that time. Because I needed to feed her first so I can get her to bed as soon as possible while I was preparing, the meal for Indira and I. And so I was bouncing back and forth in between like, feeding Sky, trying to convince her to eat her mashed potatoes and her green beans, all at the same time. Indira was dancing as well, dancing and blasting music, throughout the apartment.
Okay. So Jacob, Mr. Fields, you just testified that this all took place within a 2-hour time span window. Can you tell me where you were before you started cooking dinner, and where was Sky and where was myself?
You guys were at the apartment and I was on my way back from working on somebody's car.
Okay. Did you stop anywhere in between your travel from said car appointment that you had and coming home to cook dinner?
Yeah, I stopped at Walmart to pick up food, to pick up the chicken.
Okay. So before you stopped at Walmart to pick up the food, you claim that this was a 2-hour window that you had where I was dancing, you were cooking food, and Sky was being fed by you, correct?
Yeah, it was all between about like 8:30, 9 o'clock and about 11. Yeah.
Okay. 8:30, 9 o'clock, 11. Those are the time frames that you're giving?
Yeah, somewhere between there. Yeah.
Okay. So can you tell me approximately about what time did you start cooking dinner?
I feel like it was probably right around like 9:30ish.
Okay. And you just stated that before you had come home from the grocery store, Sky was in my care by myself. Is that correct?
Correct, yes.
Okay. So you felt comfortable then to leave our daughter alone with me?
Not entirely, no.
So you're saying that you never felt comfortable leaving our daughter in my presence alone?
Not entirely, no.
Okay. This is previously before this DVRO that you submitted, right?
Yes.
Okay. Can you explain to us your living situation? Who do you live with?
Yeah, I live with my roommate, Matt, and my other roommate, Ben.
Okay. So there are 3 male adults in the house, correct?
Yes.
And where does Sky live?
She lives here,
And where is here?
in the room with me.
So you and our daughter share a bedroom together in a 3-bedroom apartment with 2 other grown male adults.
Yes, correct.
How well do you know these men?
Pretty well, I feel like. Yeah, pretty well.
Okay. Could I ask you about where do you know them from? Do you know how you know them?
I've worked with him in the film industry.
Okay. And how long has that been?
At least about a year now.
So you've been living there for almost a year with these people that you've known for maybe almost a year.
Mhm.
Have you ever left our daughter alone with them? Either one of them?
Oh, no.
No. You've never left our daughter alone with them while you went to work a set, while you had other jobs to complete. She's never been alone in the care of Matt Shields or Benjamin.
No.
No, not at all. Okay. On the night or on the day of August 14th, when I was served the initial paper, as well as my parents and a few police officers and sheriff came over to your apartment to do a wellness check for my daughter. Were you scheduled to work a gig that evening?
I was, yes.
Okay. And was Sky at the apartment that evening as well?
She was, yeah.
Okay. So if you were to go to work on a gig that is going to have camera sets, who was going to be watching our daughter?
So I just got picked up to shuttle a colleague to the airport, and I got paid a full day rate to it. And I just had Sky's car seat in the minivan that was provided for me by the company, and I was going to take Sky with me to the airport to drop him off.
Okay. So you were going to transport our daughter along with another grown adult of whom you've never met as part of your work.
I met him many times. He has a 5-year-old. He has a
To
5-year-old.
supervise her. I wasn't finished.
One person at a time. Finish your question, Ms. Cobbs, and then you can answer Mr. Fields.
Okay, copy that.
Thank you. So you were going to transport our daughter in a shuttle van because it was a part of your work with an adult that you barely know.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't feel like I barely know him, but I mean, I don't feel like I barely know him now.
Okay. Were your employers aware that you were taking our daughter onto your said job assignments?
Yes.
Okay. And was your direct supervisor informed that you would be having our daughter accompany you during this transportation?
Yes.
Okay. So you would say, what time were you about to leave to go do that day?
I was scheduled to pick him up at 7 o'clock. 7
Okay. And when we came over, who did you ask to do that?
I asked my roommate to do that, to cover for me.
Okay. So if no one would have been there at the home, Sky would have been left with Matt. That's the roommate, right?
Sky would not have been left alone with Matt. Sky was going to go with me. I had her car seat in the minivan, ready to put her in it and go to the airport with me.
Okay.
I'm not going to leave Sky alone at the apartment.
Okay. So I just wanted to give context here about your current living situations and who you live with and the environment that our daughter is currently slaying in right now. Let's go back to the night of the 31st, July 31st, 2023, where you claimed that I was dancing for a significant amount of time, at least an hour or two, while you were cooking dinner, while you were feeding Sky, while Sky and I were dancing. You testified that in your statement, as soon as you began recording me, I started to charge you and attack you. Can I ask you, why did you start recording me?
Because I've been around you long enough to see how your behavior escalates. And I knew that I would probably be put in this situation, especially with your parents, because you did constantly try to flip the script on me all the time, specifically your father does. And so I wanted to make sure that I had your behavior recorded, documented, so that I could provide proof, of what was going on.
Yes, right. I want to know why, though, you felt it was necessary to start recording me without my consent.
Your Honor, it's asked and answered. I'll object at this point.
I'll sustain. Next question.
Okay. I'd like to just share a statement under Georgia Code Title 16, Crimes and Offenses, 1611-62. It says,
Your Honor, I'm going to object unless she's going to ask a question of my client.
Is there a question in there, or is this something that you wish to testify to during your side of the case?
I'll save that for later, but did I give you consent to record me, Jacob?
No.
So you were recording me without my consent?
Yes.
Okay. Which is illegal.
Your Honor, I object.
Obviously, I know it's not illegal, Ms. Pelleros. It's fine. Move on.
Okay. So I just want to ask that question. Now, on the night, you also said that I charged at you and I attacked you once you began recording me. So once you started recording Indira's behavior, she started pulling my hair, swinging at me, trying to grab my phone and preventing me from leaving the apartment all in front of our daughter. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Now, you just testified a few minutes ago that you had to pin me down and secure me to the ground. That actually is not in the written DVRO order at all. So did you just leave that part out?
Yes, I guess, yes.
Okay. So on the night that I was allegedly attacking you for recording me, is it true or false that you actually body slammed me to the ground and held me in a chokehold for almost 2 minutes?
That is not true.
That's not true. You did not hold me. You did not. So
Took you to the ground and I pinned you down until you agreed
you
to.
body slammed me to the ground and you held me in a chokehold. You're saying that's not true.
That's not true.
Okay. Your Honor, can I submit evidence?
Is it already been uploaded?
Yes.
Okay. What is the evidence number?
It is going to be, one moment, I'm sorry. It's respondents A through N evidence.
All right. Ms. Broom, respondents A through N. I think it's the first one listed. All right. You'll need to lay the foundation, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. So I don't want to bring those up just quite yet.
Okay.
I have some other evidence. Oh,
Can I go back for a second?
Just 1 second. No, just 1 second. Go ahead. Ms.
Okay.
Cobb.
Can you please pull up respondent C through N evidence? It's a photograph of my left arm.
Ms. Broom, C through N.
This is a photo of myself. I took August 3rd, 2023, after the night of the incident where Mr. Fields.
Okay, just 1 moment, Ms. Cobbs, because again, you're going to be able to testify, but do you have a question related to this photo for Mr. Fields?
Oh, I just wanted to ask him if he's sure that he didn't body slam me to the ground.
Yeah, I'd like to go back and clarify that. That's accurate. I
27. At this
Any
time?
objection to the photo, Ms. Cobbs?
Yes, I do object. I did not make a intentional phone call to Mr. Fields. As you can see, he still has my contact saved. So there's a period of time where we were heavily communicating where his call log is pretty much like the only number in my phone. It may have been an accidental dial, but it definitely was not intentional.
Okay, thank you. It'll be admitted over the objection.
Thank you. I'm wondering if do we have the movie that I had hand delivered, P20?
Yes, we do not have it yet. She's in a meeting, so I don't know what time or if it'll be done.
Thank you.
Is it what's been testified to by Mr. Fields today?
Yes, ma'am, and it's also in the police report. I believe the one that's
That he references viewing the video?
dated, I believe it's
August
August 3rd, which would be,
It's number 22.
yes, 22.
Okay,
It's I believe he indicated that's what had happened in the video and the policeman watched it. So I think
did state that I body slammed her and put her in a chokehold. That was my way of putting her to the ground and pinning her down. I want to go back and clarify. Apologize.
You can remove the photo now. Okay, so that was true. So you lied.
okay. Is there a question there?
objection.
What?
Yeah.
I mean, can I not ask him if that was a lie? He just lied. I said, did you lie?
Your Honor, he corrected his testimony.
Okay, Mr. Fields, you can answer the question.
Yeah, yes, I did lie. And then I came back and fixed it. Yes.
All right, next question.
Okay. So Jacob, on the night of the day of October 31st, 2022, I received a phone call from a Miss Isabel Fuentes. Do you remember being alone with Miss Isabel Fuentes June or July 2022 in a log cabin in the state of Georgia while working on a Lifetime film?
Judge, I'm going to object. I'm not sure what this is, but it's irrelevant. If he was with someone in whatever time, another adult at any other time, it's
All right,
irrelevant.
Ms. Cobbs, what is the relevance to the protective order that was issued today?
Oh, I am just trying to cross-reference Jacob saying that he felt I was a danger to our daughter and didn't feel safe leaving me alone with her, but I was going to get to the actual relevance of why I'm asking this question.
What is the relevance for you asking this question?
Jacob, have you ever been accused of sexually assaulting females?
Oh, wow, I'm objecting.
Yeah.
Actually, no, I think Mr. Fields should answer that question. Yes, sir. It's.
All right,
it's
well, let me
to
just
do with
say,
it.
if Mr. Fields has any pending charges, he does need to be instructed as to his right to remain silent. I, of course, don't have any of that information in front of me, but Ms. Pelleros, if you're aware of any of that, you may want to instruct him as to that.
I am aware of no pending charges or any charges ever, Judge, so he can.
All right, Mr. Fields, you can answer the question.
Have I been accused?
Have you been accused of sexually assaulting or molesting a female?
Yes, I've been accused of it.
Okay. Was the female your biological sister that you molested?
All right, any other questions, Ms. Pelleros?
Yes, Your Honor, just very
Keep it brief,
quickly.
please.
With respect to when the July 31st, 2023 incident that you took this initial TPO out, Mr. Fields, want to talk about that? You indicated that you put Miss Cobbs on the floor and held her there. Why did you have to do that?
Because she wouldn't get out of my way. I was trying to leave and she wouldn't get out of my way, and she kept striking me and pulling my hair down, and like pulling my hair and trying to grab my phone at the same time.
And was there any other way to calm her down other than pinning her to the ground?
Oh man, I wish. No.
And you've already testified about I believe it was the Officer Stratham's recounting of that particular video in the police report that's in evidence. How many times did you try to stop her in other ways that were less dramatic than pinning her to the ground?
I mean, I tried just to get out of there. I tried to leave.
Did you tell her to stop at all?
Yeah, I tried. Yeah, I told her to stop multiple times. I was like, please stop, Indira, stop hitting me, stop hitting me.
And would she stop?
No, she wouldn't stop.
And you indicated earlier that she had picked up some type of pan.
Yeah, she picked up a pan. I was cooking broccoli and it was a hot pan.
Right, we are resuming now. It is now the time for the respondent's case to begin. You may call your first witness, ma'am.
Okay, I actually had one more question. Am I able to call Jacob Fields as a witness?
Yes, if you want to ask a limited question, you can call him as a witness.
Yes. Can I call Jacob Fields?
All right, Mr. Fields, you were previously sworn. Go ahead, ma'am.
Okay. Jacob, you submitted evidence of some scratch marks and bruises on your body from a time in 2021. Is that correct?
Yes.
Would you say that we were probably engaging in sexual intercourse every single day?
Your Honor, I'm going to object to this line of question. It's not relevant.
It is.
It is. Well, you don't get to decide, ma'am. I do. But
Sorry.
yes, it's relevant because it goes to his testimony as to the injuries.
All right.
Yeah, I suppose so. Yeah, we were. I suppose so.
Yes. And would you describe our sexual encounters as kind of risque, a little exciting?
Right. We are resuming now. It is now the time for the respondent's case to begin. You may call your first witness, ma'am.
Okay, I actually had one more question. Am I able to call Jacob Fields as a witness?
Yes, if you want to ask a limited question, you can call him as a witness. That is very subjective. We need to kind of limit this. I think you've made your point as to the possibility of the injuries.
So could it be possible that you received those scratch marks during intercourse with me?
Not those ones specifically, no.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Anything further?
That's all.
All right. Anything further, Ms. Pelleros, as to this witness?
The marks that you sustained, you testified earlier about being hit with a wine bottle, I believe, by Miss Cobbs. Did that take place during your sexual encounters?
No.
That's all I have.
All right. Thank you. Next witness. All right. Good afternoon, Mr. Cobbs. I'm Judge Guy. You've been called as a witness in this matter. This is 23 PO 7079 Jacob Fields versus Indira Cobbs. If I could ask you to raise your right hand, please. I'm going to get you sworn in. Do you swear or affirm any testimony is true and correct on the penalty of perjury?
I do.
All right. And if you could state your full name for me.
Bruce Ricardo Cobbs.
Thank you. Ms. Cobbs, you have to keep your video on.
Yes, ma'am. Hold on. I'm sorry. I need to turn it back on. I'm on an iPad. Here we go.
You may question your witness.
Okay. Good afternoon, Mr. Cobbs. How are you?
Fine, thank you.
Good. Can I ask you, how do you know Mr. Fields?
I met Mr. Fields through you dating him.
Okay. And how long have you known Mr. Fields?
I know it was prior to 2020 because that's when we got COVID.
Okay. And would you say your relationship with Jacob Fields is that of like a son-in-law?
Yes, I counseled him times.
Okay. And from your observation with Jacob Fields' behavior and previous conversations with Mr. Fields, would you say that he's a trustworthy person?
Uh,
I'm going to object to the question.
Basis of the objection.
She said, number one, there's been no foundation whatsoever for that question. And I think it goes to character.
Response, ma'am.
Well, I am trying to build the frame and foundation of how he knows Mr. Fields and his trust.
Okay, well, he can't get into trustworthiness. He can say how he knows him. I've yet to hear how he knows him other than meeting him through you. So you need to ask questions that pertain to facts as opposed to a subjective opinion as to his character.
Certainly. My apologies, Honor. Let me keep it on track. Mr. Cobbs, on the night of July 31st, 2023, did you receive a phone call from myself?
yes, I received a FaceTime call for you. I was in the back of my computer looking at some stuff planning for your mother's trip when a FaceTime call came through. When I answered the phone, you were erratic, you were crying, you were telling me how Jacob had harmed you and how your neck was still swollen at the time that he had thrown you down and was choking you till you couldn't breathe. And I asked you to calm down because Sky was with you.
Okay. And on that night of the 31st, when you received this FaceTime call, do you remember about what time that was?
It was close to midnight because I told you if he did that kind of harm to you, get Sky, get your clothes, get out of the house, and I would find you a place to stay. And I called the residence inn and told you to go there. And I called your therapist, Mr. Fry. He said, yeah, that's the best move to make. Just get out of there. And if you have to.
I'd object to the hearsay, Judge. I don't know who Mr. Fry is.
I'm going to sustain the objection. Just testify to things you have personal knowledge of, not
Okay.
statements made by people.
I'm sorry, Your Honor. Okay, so I told her to get out and I'd find her a hotel and tell her where to go. She was terrified. And I said, just take Sky, get out of the house. I'll find you a place to stay. I called the residence inn, had made a reservation. And then when they got there, they would not let her stay there because they said she needed to show
I'd
a credit
object
card.
to the hearsay again.
I'm telling you what I did. This is
Yeah,
what
okay.
did.
I understand, Mr. Cobbs, but you actually weren't present at the location, so I need to.
I was on the phone. I was on the phone at the time talking
Okay.
to the.
All right.
And Mr. Cobbs, why were you initially coming to Georgia? What was the reason for you coming to Georgia from Texas?
The original plan was that your mother was going to Nantucket and she was going to fly back from Nantucket to Georgia, and I was going to drive through and we were going to pick up Sky and take her to meet my family. My family has never met Sky. They live in Virginia, and that was the original plan before the call.
And what did Mr. Fields inform you after our court hearing, the court hearing between I and Mr. Fields of our open custody case in Texas? That would be August 3rd. We had a court hearing in Texas for the custody and child support of Sky Fields, which I have legal custody. What did he tell you after that?
When I called him to say I'm here to pick up Sky, he said, I don't feel comfortable with that. I can't let you have her. I have to stay with me. And I said, dude, Sky has been with me more of her life than with you. So what is the problem? He said, I just can't do it. And that is, after I got there, that is when I contacted you and I took you and we went over to East Point, and I called the East Point police and asked them to meet us there because we figured that's where he was, and asked them to do a wellness check for me to see if we could see Sky. At that time, we did not have the paperwork from the state of Texas that granted you full guardianship. So the East Point police told us they could not do anything. That if they had that, they could do it. After that episode, we went back home. We went back to the hotel and waited to get the information that we needed to contact him, to get access to Sky.
Okay. Can you describe my living situation today?
Well, ironically enough, while I was here, within 7 days, I found and secured you an apartment, and you're now in an apartment on your own. Since you've been here and you're here your last episode, the doctors put you on the correct medication, and you have been doing a great job at work. Your whole temperament has changed. Prior to that in Texas, they misdiagnosed you, and the pills.
I'm going to object, Your Honor. I mean, we are so off. There's hearsay. He's talking about medical diagnosis, as I understand it.
Wait, just a second. Wait, Mr. Cobbs, you have to wait. You have to wait.
Okay.
Go ahead, Ms. Calaros.
We are way off track. It's frankly, a lot of it is, most of it is hearsay, what he's reporting now. He's talking about
Yeah.
diagnoses.
Let me just interrupt you for a moment. Mr. Cobbs, the question was related to the living conditions. Ms. Cobbs had asked you what her living condition was now. Please don't get into what doctors have said in the past or what her diagnoses have been and what it is now. She's still going to have a chance to testify in a moment, and she can testify to some of that herself if she wishes to.
Correct. I put too much in. I'm sorry, Your Honor. I
That's
put a little too much. Okay, where was I? So basically, I found a place for her. She has a good job. While I was there, I met her supervisors, and that's when I've introduced myself, and I found her a place to stay.
So you confirm that I'm living on my own, in my own apartment, in my own name, with no other adults or anyone that lives with me.
That is correct.
Thank you. Previously to the time before moving to Georgia, was it true that Sky and I were living with you under your roof?
That is correct.
And can you tell me why we were living with you?
It was again when you and Jacob had broke up, and Jacob moved to Atlanta to start working on films and doing camera work and doing production work.
Okay. And did Jacob and I occupy a home together with Sky before he moved to Georgia?
Yes, you did. And he had 2 or 3 or 4 other roommates in there with you.
But during the time of Sky's first years of life, up until about probably like between 14 and 18 months of her life, we were living in our home as a family. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Am I allowed to give some context to that situation?
No, you are not.
Copy.
I think at this time, I think that's all that I have for this time.
All right, Ms. Pillarose, you may ask questions.
Thank you. Hello, Mr. Cobbs. My name is Debbie Pellerose. I represent Mr. Fields in this matter. Just have a few questions for you. You are Indira Cobb's father. Is that true?
That is correct.
Is she your only child?
That is correct.
All right. And you love her very much. Is that right?
That is correct.
And you met Mr. Fields when they were dating. Is that true?
That is correct.
And you indicated that when in Texas, they were living in a roommate situation together. Is that right?
When they started off, that is correct.
And there were other roommates there. Is that true?
That is correct.
And Sky was living there with the other roommates at that point. Is that right?
No, Sky was not born then.
Okay. All right. And you indicated in some of your testimony that your daughter has had issues, mental health issues in the past. Is that right?
That is correct. That's why I took a NAMI class to help understand and help her through it. And
I'm sorry.
Yes, and help, and we tried to find the correct. They had to send her to a psychologist who misdiagnosed her in meds. It wasn't working, but she was doing a good job, to the best of her ability.
Okay. And so she was institutionalized in Texas, is that right?
That is correct.
And was that for suicide attempts?
I don't recall them.
Okay. And you were aware she was found by the police on the 20th of June in Atlanta. Is that correct?
Jacob called and notified us of that.
All right. And she was unconscious in a car. Is that right?
That is correct.
And she was taken to Ridgeview at Monroe. Is that right?
I don't know the location, but I know they diagnosed her with the proper medication. After that, there was no more problems with her.
Okay. So that's when she spent about a week, like the 20th through the 28th at Ridgeview. Is that right? Of 2023?
I know she was there for a while, but I don't know the exact time.
All right. And she has an issue with alcohol as well, and correct?
Not since she's been there that I'm aware of.
Okay. So you're not aware that of what I will withdraw the question and ask that later. With respect to the time that you went to East Point and called the East Point police on, I believe it was August 3rd, you talked about that incident. Is that true?
That is correct.
And you and Ms. Cobbs, Indira Cobbs spoke to the police officer. Is that right?
Yes, because we called the police because I did not want to go there and appear like we were trying to be a rough shot, and have them to meet us there and explain to them the situation. And they inspected and did what they could within the realms of the law at that time.
All right. And with respect to that particular incident, are you aware that the police officer talked to Mr. Fields as well?
Yes, I was standing there watching them do it.
Okay. And have you seen the video that Mr. Fields has of your daughter attacking him? on July 31st of 2023?
Yes, I have. And as I said, Jacob has worked in film and knows how to slant it because of what I saw, because he sent it to me too. And what I saw and what he stated earlier is two different things when you look at the film. He says she was attacking him. She was standing there in a t-shirt when he started filming her with his camera. Now, I don't know about you, but I know my wife would smack me upside the head if I did that without asking her, taking a video of her in a t-shirt. And when she tried to get him to stop, it was so canned, like, oh, stop, don't hit me. I'm going to call the police. And you could tell, and he had one hand where he bruised her so hard. And that's when after she called me after that, crying that he had choked her, she couldn't breathe.
All right. And so you're aware that she was hitting him during that
I never
video?
saw her hit him. If you look at the video, she swipes at the phone, and then the next thing you see is when he grabs her left arm. After that, the camera drops, and you just hear him saying, "Oh, stop hitting me! Oh, don't do it!" But the camera had dropped. You don't see anything after the point where he grabbed the arm.
Okay. And she's hit him before. Is that true?
I'm not aware.
You don't recall him giving him a black eye?
I'm not aware. I did not witness it. I guess the correct answer, I did not witness it.
Are you aware that your daughter hit Mr. Fields and caused him to have a bruised black eye?
If I did not witness it, I cannot answer that question to you.
Okay, all right. So you you leased an apartment for Miss Cobbs, is that right?
Yes, I called Priceline and rented her a room until we could find her an apartment.
All right, so she's in a room right now, is that right?
No, she's in an apartment. I found
Okay.
it. I said that earlier.
Okay.
Unlike Jacob, it doesn't take me 6 months to find an apartment.
Okay, and what is the address of that apartment?
I refuse to answer that because the fact that he might do harm to her.
I'm going to interrupt you for a moment. We're not going to do any addresses live on the air.
All right. With respect to you indicated that she's working now. Where is she working? So that's the same job she had previously?
I do not know. I know went to the hospital, then she started again and they hired her and they said nothing but kudos about her.
Okay.
Just for the record,
No, it is not your turn. You have to wait your turn.
And isn't it true that Mr. Fields was paying child support after he got to Atlanta and started working?
Mr. Fields never pays child support. Mr. Fields agreed to pay for her daycare. I paid for all the food and all the diapers and everything else. So we did not ask him for child support. We just let him choose the daycare that he wanted to send his child to, and that's the one he chose to pay for.
All right, so he's paid for daycare expenses, and your Sky is what, 2 now? Should be 3 in this year?
Should be 3 this year.
Okay, so daycare for an infant is pretty expensive. Would you agree?
Yes, ma'am. Daycare is more
I don't need
expensive.
you to go into that, Ms. Pelleros. I know, I understand the cost of things. There's no jury here.
We'll move on, Judge. So when Ms. Cobbs and Mr. Fields broke up and he left Texas and he moved to Atlanta, and you indicated he came here for work, is that correct?
He moved there to be with his parents, and then he found work because he had been working off and on out of Austin.
Okay. And at some point, Ms. Cobbs moved back to Atlanta, correct?
Yes, he asked her to come back and ask, to give her a chance. And, and if I could say something, and I'm not trying to be harmful, but.
Is it responsive to my question, sir?
Yes. Jacob asked her, Jacob is good at gaslighting, and I know you're familiar with the term. And he asked her to come back. And shortly after they got back, things started to deteriorate between the two of them again. And he would call me and say things, but they tried to make it work.
So with respect to, you were contacted by Mr. Jacobs when Ms. Cobbs would disappear for several days at a time. Isn't that true?
No.
That's not true. Okay.
He never said several days to me.
All right. I'd ask the clerk to pull up. I believe this is Plaintiff's Exhibit 8. So your wife's name, sir, is Lily Cobb, is that correct?
That is correct.
And do you recall in April of 2023 receiving some text from Mr. Fields asking if you'd heard anything from Indira?
Is this the text? Who is this
Yes,
text?
sir. Yes, sir. Do you recall that text?
It says Lily Cobb's on here. I don't see my name.
Are you BC, Bruce Cobbs?
Is that on there? Yeah, if it's on there, I'm here.
Okay.
And
So do you recall receiving text from Mr. Fields regarding wanting to know if you'd heard anything from Indira Cobbs, your daughter?
I don't remember that date, but I can look on my phone and help you out.
All right. That's all right. I'll get Mr. Cobbs to talk about it. With respect to your daughter, you agree she's had some mental health issues, correct?
Yes, she has had mental health issues. That's why I took the NAMI class, National Associated Mental Illness, to help. But like as you said earlier, Mr. Fields is gaslighting her. So every time she does well, he knows how to make her feel guilty and break her down and go into these episodes. I witnessed that.
You believe that Mr. Fields is the cause of all of your daughter's mental health issues. Is that what you're saying?
Down here, he is.
Okay. So in Texas, when she was hospitalized in Texas for her mental health issues, when was that, sir?
I don't remember the date.
Well, was it before COVID?
Yes.
Okay. And was it before, like a year or so before COVID?
I don't remember the exact date. I do know we went to she went to a little place, she checked in, and she still didn't receive the proper diagnosis.
Okay.
She also had to go to a psychiatrist who didn't give her the proper diagnosis.
So all these doctors have been properly diagnosed your daughter, per your understanding. Is that right?
Yes, they gave her the medication didn't work. She
Okay.
she didn't get the best medication until she got down here. And then she's stable, she's working, she's productive, and she's on the proper medication, what she never got before.
And when she was hospitalized in Texas, Mr. Fields wasn't around. Isn't that true?
When she was went to Mr. Fields was there. He went to visit her when we were at when she went to the hospital.
Okay. But she had issues before she met Mr. Fields. Isn't that right?
Well, she's picked some bad people to date that cause issues. I can say that.
All right. Well, that's not Mr. Fields' fault, though, is it?
Well, he's in that group.
Okay. All right. I understand. And you love your daughter and you want to protect her, don't you, sir?
No, I'm gonna tell the truth. Whether it's related or not, like I said, I'm here as a friend of the court to tell the truth, what I noticed, whether it does harm to me or anyone else. And
right.
Mr. Fields has been gaslighting her and trying to control her physically and mentally since we met her.
Okay. So I'm going to ask you do you recall having a conversation with Mr. Fields via text? And apologize what the dates are on this. That's all right. I'll ask my client. He'll be able to provide us with a date. Do you recall having conversations with Mr. Fields telling you that your daughter had Sky in the car and was running red lights?
Yes, because we told her to get away from him because I was afraid for her life and so was she.
Okay, so you were afraid for her life and she was afraid for your life, but you called him to say she's coming back home that night, correct?
When I couldn't get a room, I called him back after I gave him some choice words. Would you like to hear those choice words I told him? Would you?
I'm sorry, sir.
I said,
Did you ask him that for her to be able to come back?
I said that earlier. That if he would not touch her and let her come back in white sky till I got that. I said it earlier. But would you like the other choice words I also told him?
If it's not relevant, I'm not interested.
It's relevant. It's relevant.
All right. What are
It's
your
relevant.
choice words?
I want to interrupt everybody here because this entire hearing has taken too long. We were going over things again and again and again. We are here for a very specific purpose, and I'm not interested in all the other stuff. And I'm certainly not interested in theatrics. So let's move it along, Ms. Pelaros, and I don't need to hear the choice words, sir.
Your Honor, could I I would like to make 2 requests for the record in good faith, if I could.
Go ahead.
First of all, I'd like to ask you to drop this order of protection. He didn't take this out until after the state of Texas awarded her full custody. And then the second order I would like to satisfy everything until the state of Texas can make this order is to award my wife custody of Sky until we can get it straightened out. That way everybody should be happy. We've never denied Mr. Fields any opportunity to see or be with Sky. And so that should solve the solution because he only took this order out after he lost the initial case and asked for a lawyer. That's when he filed a protection custody against her. So if I could get that on record and ask for that help, I would appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
That's all I have, Your Honor.
All right. Anything further of this witness, Ms. Cobbs?
Just really quickly, I just want to touch on some of the mental health statements that were made. Mr. Cobbs, is it true that in 2018, I began seeing a counselor by the name of James Fry after a severely abusive relationship with a Renee, you know, Renee W, his last name?
That's correct.
Was it true that I was physically assaulted and harassed by Renee?
That is
I'm
correct.
going to interrupt you because that's not relevant to today's hearing.
Okay, so I have been in therapy and in counseling
You're going
since
to get to testify in just a
2018.
moment. You're going to get to testify in just a moment if you wish to do so. Do you have any more questions of this witness?
Yeah, I'm asking him, is it true that I've been in therapy since 2018?
That
Okay.
is correct.
Okay, and is it true that I have been counseled by medical licensed professionals to help with certain traumas that I have been recovering from? Yes or
That
no?
is correct.
Thank you. Oh, and one more. Is it true that Jacob knows about these
She's
domestic?
leading. I mean, I know we're trying to get through this, but she is clearly
Okay.
leading her own witness. I would object to that.
Ask a question.
Does Jacob know about the relationship involving domestic abuse
That
with
is
Renee?
correct. That is correct.
And have you ever witnessed Jacob gaslight me during some of our conversations about certain events that have happened?
That is
I'm
correct.
going to object to the leading again. I'm going to object because the questions are irrelevant. The court's already clarified.
I've already indicated I agree. I'm sustaining the objection. Any other questions outside of the area that you've been on for the last few questions?
That will be all for this witness. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Sir, you are excused. Thank you for your testimony today. Who is your next
Thank you,
witness?
Your Honor.
I call Lillian Cobbs to the stand.
Okay. Good afternoon. I'm Judge Guy. If I could go ahead and ask you to unmute and raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm any testimony you're about to provide is true and correct and guilty of perjury?
I do.
All right. And if you could state your full name for the record, please.
Yes, Lillian Ann Cobbs.
Thank you, Ms. Cobbs. You've been called as a witness by your daughter today to give testimony in this hearing. Ms. Cobbs, you can proceed with your questioning.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Cobbs, is it true that, were you the primary caretaker of Sky Fields during the months of February 2023 to June 2016, or June 16th, 2023?
Yes, that is correct.
Is it true that you were in communication with Jacob throughout the entire duration of our daughter living with you?
Yes, we were.
Have you ever broken communication with Jacob Fields under the care and watch of Sky?
No, I have not, or we have not. Down to doctor's appointments, her schooling, activities at school, what she had for dinner. We let him know everything as well as you.
Okay. Have you received the same information from his parents?
No,
Has his parents ever kept you informed of our daughter's whereabouts, schooling, care, and well-being?
no.
Do you have any communication with his parents?
From time to time we do, or we did, until all of this came about. They would call, if they were in Texas, they would call or text to see if they could come by or spend some time with Sky, and we never denied them that. They would call from time to time also to see if we could FaceTime so that they could see Sky, and we welcomed it each time. We never denied them any access via FaceTime or in person to see their granddaughter.
Nor Jacob as the father, is that correct?
No, nor Jacob.
Okay. Another question here.
Can I object to that?
As you
Okay.
As you've observed my behaviors, actions, and care of my daughter, would you describe me as an adequate mother?
I would.
Can you tell me some of the actions and some of the events that we would partake in together, my daughter and I?
Yes, going on.
Your Honor, I'm going to object, again, relevance.
Yeah, I'm going to sustain the objection. Move on.
Okay. How would you describe me as a mother?
Same question, Judge, same objection.
Yeah, we need to stick to what we're here for today, ma'am, which is specifically as it relates to the incidents that have been testified to, I believe in June and July and late July of this year.
Okay.
TPO.
Certainly. On July 31st, 2023, did you also hear the call that I made to Bruce Cobbs in regard to Jacob physically assaulting me?
Yes, I did.
Were you in witness of the bruises and body marks that Jacob left me from slamming me down on the ground and choking me out?
Yes.
And did Jacob ever tell you or my father that he did in fact body slam me on the ground and choke me?
Yes,
Okay.
he did.
Okay.
And there is proof, which you've already showed the court.
Okay. Do you feel that I'm a danger to my daughter?
No, I don't feel you're a danger to your daughter. You love your daughter. You would never harm your daughter.
Have you ever seen me physically assault my daughter during the time that I lived with you or in Texas?
No, you disciplined your daughter, which all parents need to do, but no physical harm towards her. Never.
Okay. And have you ever seen me neglect my daughter, as in not feeding her, bathing her, leaving her?
And Your
with-
Honor, I'm going to object, not what we're here for, irrelevance.
I'm going to allow this as it relates to the custody request that's been made by your client. Go
Mhm.
ahead. You may answer the question, ma'am.
No, she has not. She has always been there for Sky. She bathed her, she fed her, she talked to her, she read to her, she attended church with her, just being a mom. She's a great mother.
Okay. Couple more questions. Did you agree to care after our daughter, Jacob and I's daughter, Sky Fields, during the months of late February to June 16th, 2023, because we did not have an adequate living situation for her at the time?
Yes, we did. We talked about it, your dad and I, and we said since Sky was in school, we did not want to interrupt her schooling. She was doing so well and she enjoyed it. And we took care of her during that time to give you guys time for you to find employment, give you some time to see if you could find adequate living arrangement or a place to live for only just you three, no other roommates, because you are a family now. And I know you and Jacob heard your dad and I tell you that you guys need your own place. You have a little girl now and she needs her own space and you guys need your own space.
Okay. And since you've been in the state of Georgia and you've come to see me now, what would you say is my mental state?
I'm not a professional, but just as being your mother, I see a great improvement. I think you've done wonderful. You seem to be happy. You're stable. You have your own place. You're thriving. You have a goal in mind, and that is to take care of you and Sky.
Okay.
You're very driven, as you used to be before all of this happened.
So would you say that my mental state has drastically improved since being apart from Mr. Fields?
Yes, I would say that. You seem to be calmer before when you guys were together. And I just want to state too, that over the years since Indira and Jacob have been together, they have tried to make this work so many times. And when Sky came along, we thought that would help the situation out for them, that it would bring them closer together, because that baby, she means a lot to both of them. And she's a wonderful, beautiful child. And we just thought that would bring them closer together. But for somehow it seemed to pull them apart. Indira is a wonderful mother and she loves her child. She would never harm her child.
Okay. And one last question. Have I ever tried to keep Jacob away from his daughter, i.e. FaceTimes, phone calls, or personal visitations?
No, you have not, as we have not. We even told him before that we said, if for some reason, when you guys were going through things, that we would never keep him away from his daughter. That's not fair to him and it's not fair to Sky. She needs to know both of her parents.
So would you say that this is an act of vengeance, this protective order against me?
I'm going to object to the
And
question.
I'm going to sustain the objection.
Okay. No further questions, Your Honor.
All right, Ms. Pelleros, any questions?
Yes, ma'am. Ms. Cobbs, my name is Debbie Pelleros. I represent Mr. Fields. I have a few questions for you. If the clerk could bring up Plaintiff's Exhibit 8. And while she's doing that, I want to ask you, this year in 2023, there have been a few times where your daughter has disappeared for several days. Isn't that true? And no one knew where she was?
I don't recall what time, Frank, you said this year?
Yes, ma'am. In April in particular, there was around the mid-April, around the 21st, you received a text from Jacob asking if you'd heard from Indira. Do you recall that?
I'm looking right now.
You see Plaintiff's 8, that's a text message stream between you and Jacob. Is that right?
You too.
Yes, I see my name attached to that text.
All right, and you recall the text, ma'am, where he was asking you if you'd heard from Indira yet?
Heard anything from Indira? No, nothing. Yes, I see that on there. Yes,
All right, and that was April 21st of 2023, is that correct?
see the time.
top, you see that
Yes,
date?
at the top. Yes, I do see
Okay.
the.
Thank you. I will tender plaintiff's exhibit 8 for the record.
All right. Ms. Cobb, any objection to the entry of these photographs?
Yes, I do have an objection, as I can explain that I was in the home that Jacob and I were sharing. I never disappeared. I was in the house the whole time. I just wasn't responding.
All right, I will admit them over the objection listed by Ms. Cobbs.
Thank you. With respect to this particular message, ma'am, Mr. Fields had requested that you let her know that a Mr. Fry, was that her therapist at the time?
Yes, ma'am.
That you let her know that Mr. Fry wanted her to give him a call. Do you recall that?
Yes.
And he indicated he didn't think any of his texts were getting through to Ms. Cobbs. Is that right?
Text. Yes, that's what. Yes.
And you said, okay, at the very bottom, you said, okay, we will try. Just don't understand why she ghosts kid. Is that right?
Try. I don't understand. I don't recall ever putting that on there. The last part of that.
Okay. But you agree this was a text conversation between you and Mr. Fields, right?
Yes. Mhm.
Objection.
What's your objection?
Could have been autocorrect.
I was.
Okay,
I don't
I'm
think
going
I
to overrule the objection.
Do you
All right, go
understand? With respect to the second page of this particular text message stream, Mr. Fields shot you a copy of a book he was reading that he thought might help. Is that right?
I don't. Let's see. Wait, I can barely see it.
All right. It's
that-
your Mr. Fields text to you in blue says, here's a book my therapist recommended to me. It's been giving me a pretty good understanding of borderline. I recommend it outside of the NAMI book. Is that what he said?
Yes,
And
I
you
see
were-
that.
Okay. And you were appreciative of him sharing that with you. Is that
I
right?
was. Anything? Yes, ma'am. Yes, because we were all. Yes.
And this text stream, as you indicated a few minutes ago, started on April 21st. And the last text in the text stream indicates on the 24th of April, and I believe that says at 10:47 a.m.
Mhm.
And Mr. Fields lets you know that she found out that Indira and he had a long conversation last night. We're all good, so no need to worry, correct?
Yes.
And your husband just responded, great. Is that right?
Great. Right. Yes.
Okay. And that's happened other times, isn't that true?
I don't recall. At times, yes, not all the time.
Okay,
yeah,
no, I didn't say all the time. I said other times.
Yes. at
Okay,
times.
that's, yeah, not all the time. I was not saying that. Do you recall around Mother's Day in May of 2023 that that she was not responding, or he didn't know where she was? Do you recall that?
I do not recall that.
Okay, so I'm going to ask the clerk to pull up Plaintiff's Exhibit 12.
Plaintiff's Exhibit 12, please.
And Mr. Fields, this is again a text message to you from Mr. Fields. And at the top, you see where it says Sunday, May 14th.
Yes, I do.
And that's a text message stream between you and Jacob Fields. Is that true?
It appears to be, yes.
All right, thank you. I would tender Plaintiff's 12 for the record.
Any objection, Ms. Cobbs?
No.
Right, it'll be tendered.
So with I'll tender, did she say no, she had an objection?
No objection, it's admitted.
Thank you, Judge. With respect to this particular message, Mr. Fields reached out to you to wish you a happy Mother's Day, correct?
Yes.
And then he wanted to know if you had heard from Indira, correct?
Yes.
And then you later sent him another text on, it looks like Tuesday, anything about Indira yet?
What is the relevance? Objection. What's the relevance?
All right, what's the relevance, Ms. Pelleris?
Relevance is respondents put up evidence. She says she's a good mother and she's stable and she's wonderful. And there have been times in the last 6 months where she has been gone and her parents don't know where she is, and Mr. Fields didn't know where she was. So
All right, I'll admit it.
thank you.
Objection to relevance, because I wasn't.
And I've already ruled. I'm allowing it in. Your objection is overruled.
Thank you, Judge. So again, ma'am, in a Mother's Day, so roughly a month after that last text message we looked at, you're being told that Mr. Fields reaches out and says, have you heard from her? And you said, no, we haven't. And then he said he couldn't get a hold of anyone to do a welfare check, correct?
That also, Mr. Fields was out of, I believe that's when he was out of state,
Okay.
in Washington State, which he was doing some work there, but he knew they were trying to work things out. And we couldn't figure out why he would leave her here while they were trying to work on things. To me, their relationship would have been a little bit, that should have been more important in my mind.
Okay, so that's not my question. My question is, she disappeared and nobody knew where she was, including you and her father, right?
No, I didn't say we didn't know where she was exactly.
Okay. Now you love your daughter very much, don't you, ma'am?
Yes,
Objection leading.
I do love my daughter, and I'm here to tell the truth about my daughter.
I
And
can
she
lead-
is a good mother.
I can lead on cross, I think, Your Honor.
I didn't even address it. Just keep going, please.
Yes, ma'am. When was this the trip he was in Spokane, Washington working?
I believe so.
And you had
And
a
also visiting relatives, I believe.
okay, and you had a conversation with him at that time, and you told him that he may need to take custody of Sky. Isn't that right?
At that time, that's a possibility at that time, because we weren't sure where their relationship was going. It seemed to not be getting any better, and we were concerned for the welfare of our granddaughter.
Okay, I understand that. And on May 17th, if you flip over to the next page, third page, it looks like, of this text stream, on May 17th, it looks like around 10 a.m., you said, GM, good morning, any word from Indira? And Mr. Fields indicated he had not heard anything from her yet. And you said, okay, we haven't either, correct?
It appears, yes,
Okay.
that is correct. And we talked because I felt like I had a really good, or my husband and I felt like we had a really good relationship with Jacob. As we stated earlier regarding Sky, we always let him see her while she was under our care. If he was in Texas or via FaceTime, he was welcome to come over. He knew that. We never tried to keep him away from Sky. And yes, we were concerned about our daughter as well, and our granddaughter.
Okay.
He made the prompt. Well, he basically told us when she got here that they were going to get their own place. He wanted her here.
Your Honor, I'm going to object to, she's rambling, and I don't think she's answering any question that I've asked.
Yeah.
Excuse me?
Ms. Cobbs, you need to answer just the question that is asked of you. So Ms. Pelleros, if you'll repeat the question so that she knows what to answer.
All right. I believe ma'am, you testified that you had indeed asked Mr. Fields to take custody of Sky because you were concerned about your daughter in May of 2023. And so I had asked, with regard to this particular text message on page 3, you had indicated, good morning, any word from Indira on May 17th. Correct?
I'm just looking at it. It keeps.
Objection. Can she read the full text?
Yeah, that's what I'm trying.
Good
Yes.
morning, any word from
No,
Indira?
I don't need you, Ms. Pelleros, to read it to her. Give her a moment to read it, please. Were you able to see it okay, Ms. Cobbs?
Yes, I am. I also put on that text that our daughter needed to know that you're going to be there with her and their daughter, and that you need to change course as far as working out of town.
All right, if we'll go to page 4 so we can see the continuation of the text.
So you indicated, okay, we haven't either heard anything, correct?
Yes, and I also said we were on our way to pick up his daughter at daycare and pay for her daycare photos, which came out of our pocket,
Okay,
not his.
understand. But you had not heard from your daughter in May from this text started on the 14th, and we're now at the 17th of May, correct?
And then Indira did,
And it's
Just
not
one second.
clear.
Refocus.
How is this relevant when my daughter wasn't in my care? This doesn't prove that I'm an inadequate mother.
Okay,
She wasn't
thank you,
even
ma'am.
listening.
Just one moment. Let's wait for it to refocus, or Madam Clerk, if you could take it down and put it back up, please. It's out of focus. I think we've lost the clerk. Okay, go ahead with your questions while she reestablishes connection.
Thank you, Your Honor.
I have an objection.
What's your objection?
She's asking her about a time where I wasn't around, like my daughter wasn't present with me. How is this relevant to me acting as a mother when my daughter was in the care of my parents and I was not, and Jacob Fields was out of town? How is this relevant?
This text started on the 14th, and we're now at the 17th of May, correct?
And then Indira did,
And
Just
it's
one
not-
second. Refocus.
Objection. How is this relevant when my daughter was in my care? This doesn't prove that I'm an inadequate mother.
Okay,
She wasn't
thank you,
even
ma'am.
listening.
Just one moment. Let's wait for it to refocus, or Madam Clerk, if you could take it down and put it back up, please. It's out of focus. I think we've lost the clerk. Okay, go ahead with your questions while she reestablishes connection.
Thank you, Your Honor.
I have an objection.
What's your objection?
She's asking her about a time where I wasn't around, like my daughter wasn't present with me. How is this relevant to me acting as a mother when my daughter was in the care of my parents and I was not, and Jacob Fields was out of town? How is this relevant to my motherhood? If I respond or not. Technically, I didn't have to
Wait
respond
just
to
a
it.
moment. Wait just a moment, Ms. Cobbs. Ms. Pelleros, what's your response?
My response is, Judge, that this is very near in time to where we are today. We're talking about a time in April. We're talking about a time in May. We've already talked about a time in June where she attempted to commit suicide. All of it's very relevant as to her stability, her mental health, her state of mind.
And how much longer do you intend to go down this line of questioning?
I am almost done, Judge.
I hope so.
Your
Yes,
Honor, how is this time frame relevant?
Ms. Cobbs, I am overruling your objection. I'm going to allow the questioning for a little bit longer because I do believe it is relevant as to time frame and as to your ability to respond to their text messages and what was going on with you at that time. You don't have to agree with my ruling, ma'am, but that's my ruling, okay?
Okay, will I be able to
Yes,
testify? against her?
you haven't testified yet. I keep telling you, you're going to get a chance to testify. Ms. Pelleros, go with your next question, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. With respect to Ms. Cobbs, with respect to your daughter, you understand that she did attempt to commit suicide and the police found her in a car in June, on June 20th of 2023, correct?
yes, we've already established that.
All right,
Yes.
and you also are aware that she was hospitalized, institutionalized in Texas for mental health issues, isn't that true?
Yes, that is true.
And you have indicated that at some point in May, around May of 2023, you've indicated that you asked Mr. Fields that perhaps he should take custody of Sky, right?
That was before Indira was misdiagnosed. Now she has been diagnosed correctly as to what the issues are with her mental health.
Okay.
She
And
on,
are you
yeah.
a mental health
no,
specialist?
I am
ma'am?
not. This
Are
is
you
the
a doctor?
information that we received from the doctor.
Okay, so you're not a doctor.
No,
Correct.
I'm not a doctor, nor do I try to play as one.
Okay, thank you.
Nor is Jacob.
Okay,
Right.
Ms. Cobbs, I'm going to instruct you again to please not interrupt. I've told you repeatedly, you're going to get an opportunity to testify. You're not helping matters, okay? Please don't interrupt.
I have no further questions of Ms. Cobbs. Thank you, Judge.
All right, Ms. Cobbs, do you have any redirect of your mother, Ms. Cobbs?
As in, I can ask her a question.
Yes, redirect.
Okay. During the time of May and the time that Jacob was out of town working, did I have custody or guardianship of Sky? Was Sky in my care? I'm talking to
No,
you.
she was in our care.
Okay. So I wasn't responding to Mr. Fields or you. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Was it true that a wellness check was ordered to the apartment that I was staying at, which is the apartment that Mr. Fields and I occupied together?
Yes,
And was it true that I spoke to an officer of the law and told them that I was okay? I just needed some time and space.
I'm going to object to the question. The question is requiring a hearsay response because Ms. Cobbs was in Texas. She just testified.
No, it was in the text message. It said that you spoke to an officer of the law and the officer told you in the text message that you provided as evidence that I was okay and needed time and space.
So you're
Yes.
just asking her to repeat what was already testified to?
I asked her to repeat what was in the text message that she,
Okay, you can repeat that.
okay. Was it true that I spoke to an officer of the law when a wellness check was ordered?
Well,
And
whether or not it's true is not really, that's
Okay.
not, I'm not going to allow that question because, no, just a second. You can
Mhm.
ask her what you told her. You texted to her. That does not make it the truth, but you can testify. She can testify as to what you told her.
okay, so she just told Ms. Pellerose that she sent a text to Mr. Fields saying that an officer of the law contacted her, spoke to me directly, saying that I was okay. I just needed time and space.
Right. We've said this 3 times. What's the next question? Do you have another question?
No further questions.
Okay, Ms. Pelleros, any redirect?
No, you're right.
Cross, I'm sorry. All right, thank you, Ms. Cobbs. Your excuse. Thank you for your testimony and for being here today.
All right.
Okay, Ms. Cobbs, you can call your next witness. You're on mute, ma'am.
No further witnesses at this time.
Did you wish to testify? You have not testified yet. It's up to
Yeah,
you if you wish to testify.
I do. I would like to testify.
Okay, then go ahead with your testimony.
Okay. On the night of July 31st, 2023, Jacob Fields was, or I would say I was playing music. I started to dance with my daughter as Mr. Fields began to cook dinner. Our daughter was not eating. She was, in fact, in front of the television watching a TV show, and we were partaking in a motherly daughter moment where we were enjoying a few songs and dancing together, having a good time. Mr. Fields said that I attacked him out of the blue because he told me that I should grow up because I don't have my life together. It has been brought to the court's attention that I have been diagnosed with mental illnesses. I have sought a therapist since 2018 because I suffer from major depressive disorder. At some times I've had PMDD, which is caused by hormonal and birth control. I have been actively seeking counsel to help with my mental stability, and I have been taking the proper steps to become, to understand myself and to act adequately as a person during my times of major distress. One of my major triggers is financial distress. That causes me great stress. It causes me feelings of inadequacy and unworthiness, which hence has led to my performances in taking action to end my life. With my diagnosis being that of borderline personality disorder, this is something that is frequent with people as myself we go through. Suicidal ideation is a real thing and major
Your Honor, I'm
depressive.
going to object to her testimony as far as it goes to any medical. She's not, I don't think she's qualified. She has not, certainly not established that. So I would object.
Excuse me, how am I not qualified for something that's going on with me?
Let me interrupt you. Ms. Cobbs, you are welcome to give testimony as to your diagnosis and what you believe that the court needs to know as it relates to your current mental health status. I don't need you giving me a recitation of what borderline personality or depression is. That is not what I need you to testify to. If you wish to testify as to your mental health status, it'll need to be what you're feeling and experiencing. I don't need the textbook definition, okay?
Okay, just giving context. Thank you so much. So yes, I was going through a major depressive disorder because I had learned that the father of my child had sexually assaulted his siblings as well as his siblings' fiance. I felt great distress amongst information.
I'm going to object. She's laid no foundation. There were questions asked to my client where it was a childhood situation.
I'm going to overrule your objection. She can testify as to what her basis for that night's behavior was. I can choose to take it for what weight I believe it has. Thank you. You may continue, Ms. Cobbs.
Thank you, Your Honor. I do have evidence in text messages that I received from his biological sister as well as her fiance in stating the sexual attacks that Jacob has made. I would like to bring
I'm going to object to any hearsay text
I'm not
messages.
going to allow that. That's going to be over. I'm going to sustain that objection. Go ahead, ma'am.
So I cannot present evidence?
Not as to text messages from other people, no.
He had text messages from other people.
Your mother and your father who were here giving testimony.
So if I had those people present in this courtroom, I could have those text messages presented?
Depends, quite frankly, on whether or not I believe it's relevant for this.
Okay. My parents both know about his sexual assault with his sisters as well.
I'm going to object to her speculating about what her parents do or do not know. They both have testified, and they all testified that there is no problem with my client seeing this child.
Yeah, I'm really not going to allow us to go too much further down this road. Ms. Cobbs, I need you to tell me what you want to tell me as it relates to that night and your state of mind that night. As to whether or not you have text messages, I mean, I'm just not going to get into that right now.
Sure, that'll be for another case, another day. Thank you.
It is.
Thank you. So that night I felt great distress because I was physically assaulted, slammed on the ground in chokehold. I was in fear for my life. I thought that I was going to die from being choked out by Jacob Fields. I called my parents, my dad specifically, hysterically, saying that he just choked me out because I told him to stop recording me because I was having a good time with our daughter. Jacob Fields asked me or told me to grow up or something irrelevant to what was even going on, and then proceeded to take out his phone and start recording me without my consent. I told him to stop. The only thing that I went for was his phone, and I told him to stop. He started grabbing me, pushing me away, and then later led to taking me down to the ground in a chokehold. I've never physically attacked Jacob just for nothing. I've never attacked him because, oh, you looked at me wrong. Oh, you said the wrong thing. Oh, nothing. Anything
Let
that—
me interrupt you for a moment. Did you introduce into evidence the Texas order that you've referenced a few times?
I believe I did upload a picture of it. I have it here as well, stating my custodial rights.
Did you put it into evidence?
I sent it to a CPC or CSPS Tamika, where it says that I have the right and services of the child, the exclusive right to designate the primary right of the child.
I'm going to object to her reading an order that's not in evidence. I don't even know if it's a certified order. It's from another state.
Yeah, well, I just asked her a question and she's answering my question. So you can just wait just one moment, okay?
Thank you, Your Honor. Can I continue?
No, just 1 second, please.
Okay.
Okay, you can continue.
Thank you. The order says Indira Cobbs is designated as the conservator with the exclusive right to designate the primary residence of the child and maintain the child's primary resident in the state of Texas or the state of Georgia. The duty, except when a guardian of the child's estate has been appointed to manage the estate of the child, including the right as an agent of the child to act in relation to the child's estate if the child's action is required by a state, the United States, or a foreign government. The right to the services and earnings of the child, the right to consent to marriage and enlistment in the armed forces of the United States, the right to consent to medical, dental, and surgical treatment involving invasive procedures, the right to consent to psychiatric and psychological treatment, the power to represent the child in legal action and to make other decisions of substantial legal significance concerning the child, the right and power to receive and give receipt for periodic payments for the support of the child and to hold or disperse these funds for the benefit of the child, the right to make decisions concerning the child's education, and the right to apply for a passport for the child, renew the child's passport, and maintain possession of the child's passport. This is my legal rights from Texas, December 2022.
December of 2022?
December 15th of 2022.
And has that been addressed since December of 2022?
Yes. The reason why Jacob called for the protective hearing is because we had a child support case August 3rd, in where the judge or the attorney was asking me what route I wanted to go as far as the custody and child support. I wanted to file for full custody as well as full child support for Mr. Fields. And I wanted it to be under the pretense that he would only be allowed to see our daughter via FaceTime and telephone calls. So Mr. Fields asked for a reset of the hearing so that he could get legal representation. At that point, I agreed because I too was going to get legal representation. Then he serves me with a domestic violence protective order and a restraining order against him, even though I was the one that was physically attacked. So in this hearing, and not to mention, there's no legitimization of our child. Technically, he's not the legal father yet. So this, honestly, what this hearing is Jacob trying to get revenge or be spiteful because I simply want to move forward with my life and being the best mother and person that I can be during this time that I have on this earth. And I just feel like we are an inadequate and uncompatible couple. There's nothing wrong with that. I just don't want to be with him. I never tried to keep our daughter from him. I never tried to make him seem like he's some horrible, unfit parent, even though I learned all of these allegations brought against him and assaults. All I wanted was to co-parent on a healthy basis with him. But I feel like he's deliberately trying to attack me and stab me in a place that it hurts, which is me and the care for my daughter. The reason for my absence during the month of May, right around Mother's Day, was because I felt so sad that I didn't have my daughter. I was alone in Georgia. He left me alone. He was in Washington gambling. He wasn't even working. He was up there just visiting people. I had no one around me during Mother's Day. And I felt very alone. I felt very sad. I needed time. I needed time to process things. And I felt like I was inadequate. And I was, I don't want my experience to be this with my daughter. I want to be able to be a stable, outstanding role model for my daughter. I have made those strides tremendously. I work for a company that is supportive, that has been such a great experience and just a foundation for me being in Georgia. I make upwards of $80,000 a year with the company that I work for. I am more than well prepared to take care of my daughter by myself. I have my own vehicle. I have my own place of living without any other adults. And I have my own source of income with medical insurance, as well as discounts for daycare that she will be enrolled in kindercare in Buckhead, Atlanta. So all of these allegations and this hearing is for him to try to be spiteful. And I don't agree with it. I am just asking for the protective order to be dismissed. And I am asking for my original parental rights that were instated December 15, 2022 to stand.
Okay. All right, Ms. Pelleros, you can ask questions now.
Yes, Your Honor. With respect to what you're reading, did you file a certified copy of that order you indicate was entered on December 22nd of 2022?
It was December 15th of 2022.
I'm sorry, December 15th of 2022.
Yes, I have a record. I have an encrypted message sent from the Child's Attorney District of Texas, Ken Paxton, with the order involved, with all of the information stated.
All right. And you understand that this is about incidents that have happened after that order was entered, correct?
Do you understand that the order was entered before this protective order was entered?
Need you to
Yes,
answer the
ma'am.
question that's been asked by the attorney, and then you can explain afterwards, but first you have to answer her question.
Can you say the question again, because it was kind of silly?
The order that was entered on December 15th of 2022, one you have allegedly been reading from, that particular order occurred in December of 2022, correct? It was entered in 2022.
I've already stated that.
All right. And so the incidents that we're talking about of your attempted suicide in January of 2023 and your absence, for your disappearing and not letting anyone know where you are, you're going to Ridgeview and being there institutionalized for a week in June of 2022. Your
So-
disappearance in April of 2022. All of those things have happened since that order was entered. Is that true?
There's no proof of an alleged suicide in January 2023. Number one. Number two.
Okay. Well, let
Number
me,
two. Number two, I didn't disappear. I told you that I needed space and time to myself because I was in a state of distress. I spoke to an officer of the law that I relayed and told verbally that is what I was doing. I never disappeared. Now,
Okay.
June 20th, 2023, yes, I did try to take my life because I was in a state of distress, understanding and coming to find out who Jacob Fields was as a person, and allegations brought of sexual assault and abuse from other people. I felt like I had did a poor job in vetting this man to have a child with him. And I felt that she would be in better care with my parents. And I was honestly in a state of distress. I'm thankful for my time in Ridgeview because I was able to be medically diagnosed with the proper diagnosis. And I was able to receive the correct medication to stabilize my moods and well-being. Since then, I have excelled in life. I have
Ma'am,
sustained and
ma'am,
maintained. I'm answering your question. Let me finish. I have sustained and maintained a corporate position at a reputable company with exceptional healthcare benefits, as well as benefits to other things, daycare, childcare, home care, auto care, etc., since departing Jacob Fields and having the right diagnosis and right medication. So your proof of me being medically unstable is invalid because I sought the help that I needed and I'm now on the right track. Thank you, Ms. Pellerose.
with regard to the apartment, your father got that for you, leased that for you, did he not?
No, it's leased in my name and I pay the bills. Thanks. He just found it on Zillow.
All right. And with respect to you agree that you came after Mr. Fields when he was filming you on July 31st of 2023. You stated
I never
that.
said that I came out. I never said that I came after Mr. Fields. I told Mr. Fields to stop recording me and I told him to put the phone down and I went to move the phone away from the line of vision that I was in.
I've been listening to testimony about these same exact issues over and over and over again from every witness here for the last 3 or 4 hours. Is there something else that we need to address?
No, Your Honor, not with that. I will move on.
Thank you.
Can we get to the bottom of like what's going to happen now?
Well, I have to conclude this case before we can do that, which is why I keep asking that.
Okay. How do we conclude the case, Your Honor? I'm just curious because it does seem like
Entitled to ask a few more questions.
okay, we're just
anything else,
going in
Ms. Flores?
circles here.
I'm
Ms. Phil,
sorry.
do
I
you have any
couldn't hear
questions?
everybody because everybody was talking.
I know. Do you have any other questions?
Yes, Your Honor.
Then go forward, please.
Thank you. Do you agree that you, I'll withdraw that. I'll ask my client about that.
This is what happens when you get a 5-star Google review, lawyer.
I'm sorry?
She's been muted. Ms. Cobbs, you're not going to be able to make outbursts. I'm sorry. That's not going to be allowed in my court. Go ahead, Ms. Pellerose.
That's all I have from Ms. Cobbs at this point.
All right, Ms. Cobbs, do you have any redirect of your own testimony that you'd like to give? Anything further you'd like to state as it relates to this case?
Not at this time. I would just like to stop
This
being
is the time.
bad. Okay. So I can make a statement.
This is your time to give your testimony. Anything you wish to testify to that you haven't already said?
Okay. I think the proof has already been there. I just don't want to be badgered about my mental condition.
I understand. All right. Anything else?
How do we move forward?
Okay. All right. Do you have any more witnesses?
Just Mr. Fields for just a couple of rebuttal questions, Your Honor.
You have something that that you have not already been able to rebut otherwise?
Yes, with respect to the July 31st, 2023 incident.
Okay. For the very limited purpose of whatever rebuttal there is, go ahead with your questioning. You were previously sworn, sir.
Mr. Fields, you've heard Ms. Cobb's testimony about July 31st, 2023. Do you recall it?
Yeah, I heard it.
And with respect to that particular incident, she indicated you started filming her and she pushed your phone out of the way. Is that what happened?
No.
Was the police officer's rendition of what happened in that particular video that we don't have, was that an accurate description of what was going on in that video?
Yes.
That's all I have, Your Honor.
Okay. My question, Ms. Cobbs, is do your parents live here in Georgia or they live in Texas?
They're residents of Texas.
Okay. And do you have any other family here in Atlanta area?
Yes.
Okay. And who is that?
I have an uncle CJ with his wife. They
Okay.
live here.
And would you be comfortable having them facilitate any sort of visitation?
Facilitate visitation as in?
Be a part of the transfer of custody?
Like from Jacob to me?
Mhm.
Yes, I would feel comfortable.
Okay. And if you could, in the chat, if you could put the exact name of your aunt and uncle in the chat function at the bottom of your screen.
Yes, ma'am.
I need all of this information as I'm considering what to do here. Okay, Ms. Pelleros, if you wish to go ahead with any closing summation, and I implore you to keep this brief.
Yes, ma'am. I think it's been very clear what has happened, Judge. And as much as Ms. Cobbs has said, I'm great, I'm doing well, I'm fine, she has done nothing apparently to follow through with any therapy that she's ever had, because she keeps going down the same rabbit hole. She disappears for days. No one knows where she is. Mr. Fields, who was living with her, didn't know where she was. Her parents did not know where she was, and they are trying to get in contact. She tried to commit suicide 3 months ago. So we are asking that the court enter the protective order, that the court enter an order granting Mr. Fields custody of Sky. Certainly, we want mom to be able to see her, that she does need both parents. We are simply asking that these incidents that have been happening over the years, that they stop. And the only way he knew to handle any of this, and the only way I knew to tell him to handle any of this, was to seek a protective order from this woman. It is clear she may be doing okay right this minute, and I'm sure has spells where she's doing great, but she has some really bad spells where she's not doing so well. And so we would ask for her to have, I'm glad she's got family in town, and that family hopefully be able to facilitate any time she has with the child. Thank you, Judge.
All right, thank you. Ms. Cobbs, a brief summation, much like you just saw from Ms. Pelleros.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Go ahead with your brief summation.
Thank you, Your Honor. The conclusion of this court and protective hearing is simply a spiteful action of Jacob trying to take control of our daughter's living situation in life and refusing to allow me to be a part of her life. I've never done that to him. I will never do that to him. I believe that I am a fit mother. I have had spells in the past, but I'm not going through circles of repetition. I've moved myself away from the petitioner because I don't want to be with him. I don't care if I'm in his life or not. He can have all the orders he wants. That doesn't concern me. The only reason why I'm here is to give my daughter the best life that I can, which I am on the road to do. Ms. Pelleros is trying to disregard my intelligence and my adequacy by using my mental health and things that have occurred in the past against me as a deflection for Mr. Fields' immaturity and handling a situation of breakup. The fact is that I just didn't want to be with him anymore, and I wanted to move forward with my life separately. So he sought a way to try to come up with a situation that posed me as an attacker to him so that he could get custody of our daughter. That's what's going on here. I have no reason to physically assault him. I have no reason to go to jail over him. That would be one of the most silliest, stupid things. I would never go to prison over him or anyone for that matter. So the whole reasoning for this whole, she's mentally unstable and she's going through these things, I confided in my partner because I was going through hardships. I did need support. And as a partner, I expected him to be that for me. And when Jacob, I confided in him and trusted him with the information that I told him, I trusted that not to be used against me in a court of law, but to be empathetic and allow me to seek the help that I needed so that I could become a more active participant, not only in my own life, but in my daughter's life. This entire move to Georgia was upon his request. He wanted us as a family to be here. We tried to make it work. I'm happier without him. So this entire thing is ridiculous and ludicrous. I would like for my original order to be instated, and I would love for my daughter to be with her mother, because as a small young girl, I do not feel she's safe in a home with 3 grown men adults, let alone her father, who has had sexual assault allegations brought against him. I want my
objection, Judge. There's been no
Bye.
proof of that
Bye.
whatsoever.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Your objection is overruled. Go ahead, Ms. Thompson.
Thank you so much. I just want my daughter to be safe. She needs to be with her mother. She's a young girl. She needs to be allowed to be around me, and I can teach her things. You saw my parents. They're fit, they're of sound, they're of body. They have provided me with a more than privileged life. Unfortunately, Jacob didn't grow up the same, but I know that I can provide a wonderful life for my daughter, and I can have a wonderful partner that can act as her dad. And I choose to be around people of moral standard and conduct and integrity. So I am motioning to dismiss this protective order, especially against my daughter. I could care less if I see Jacob ever again, but against her, I don't think that I am a danger. I think I am a great, fit, adequate mother. And I went to seek the help and approval of getting the help that I needed for my distresses. And I have made exceptional strides. And I would like for my daughter to be with me rightfully, respectfully so.
Okay, and I appreciate you both giving your closing statements in a concise manner. I have heard extensive testimony today from both sides through testimony of the parties, as well as obviously evidence submitted through the pretrial process, as well as the testimony of witnesses that have come to court today. The easy part of this, quite frankly, was that I do find evidence of family violence. So I am issuing the protective order as it relates to Mr. Fields. The question then became to me about the custody situation that has been wrapped up into this. That was where I was really looking to hear things and get to the crux of. So let me just go through this order specifically as it relates to everything. And at the end, if you have questions, we can go over that. The protective order against Mr. Fields will be in effect from today's date, expiring naturally on August 30th of 2024. The respondent is to stay away from the petitioner, his residence, workplace, or school, and any future residence or workplace or school he may have, not coming within 100 yards of him, not text messaging him or anything of that nature. Any communication would be a violation of this protective order. That being said, I do not find that protective order needs to extend to the child in this case. I am returning custody of the child to the mother, effective by 6 p.m. tomorrow, which is September 1st. The petitioner will have visitation with the minor child according to an every other weekend schedule, and that will begin next weekend, which I believe is September 8th. So effective tomorrow, the child by 6 o'clock will be back with the respondent, Ms. Cobbs. She will keep the child through the week. Next Friday at 6 o'clock until the following Sunday at 6 o'clock, Mr. Fields will have the child for visitation, and so on and so forth, until there is another order put in place that that overrides this particular order. All right, just to continue, as part of this order, the respondent will need to undergo and complete the Family Violence Intervention Program and provide proof of successful compliance with that program. You're going to meet with a compliance officer today who will go over the requirements of that and how to stay in good order with that program. Your first compliance date will be September 22nd at 9 o'clock in the morning. Under federal law, you are not allowed to possess a firearm. And again, that is the entirety of this order.